Hello and welcome back to another episode of the My Team Career Mode. We're on episode number 4. We're getting through it slow and steady, but at least we're getting through it and the episodes are still coming out. If you haven't seen the start of this series, make sure you go check it out. It's been a decent start. It's been an okay start, I'd say. Pace-wise, it's been okay. I mean, we've made a couple of mistakes here and there. In Bahrain, we made a mistake, spun on the final lap, allowing our teammate to go on through. In Saudi Arabia, we made another big mistake, which was very, very costly because we were looking like a potential points finish, but we did a spin and put it in the wall. And here in Australia, it wasn't our fault. It was the game that was glitching. I mean, we had a red flag and then a safety car comes out right at the start of the restart, which makes no sense. Piastri basically gets a free overtake on us for no reason. And then he says, why not? Let's just brake check you under the safety car and break off your front wing. As you can see right there. So a bit of carnage happened in Australia. A little bit frustrating, but it didn't matter anyway because of the red flag glitch. So, which is essentially wherever you are when the red flag comes out is where you're going to finish at the end of the race no matter what. And that's something that I think Cody's need to fix. And I think they are going to fix in the next patch update, because that's a pretty big problem when one of your new features doesn't even work properly. So hopefully they sort that out very soon. As we have a look at the chassis department, they're asking for us to get involved. Do we want to drop the chassis morale or do we want to up the driver experience? And I think we need to work on our second driver. He's not the greatest, is he? We want him to get as good as possible, so we are going to up his experience. And also by upping his experience, we are going to gain a little bit more resource points over the weekend. He'll help us get a little bit more, and hopefully he could be a bit more influential on the team. Do something a little bit more. I mean, yes, he's beat me in 2 of the 3 races, but his pace has not been there. It's not been anywhere near the pace that we have, and you can see our car as well. We're right in the thick of that midfield. I mean, look at the bottom like 6 teams. They're all right, so close to each other. I mean, anybody could be anywhere, but we certainly have the pace to essentially be outside, right in the outskirts of the points. I mean, a couple of people DNF in the top 8, then we should be there getting a point or 2. You got Mercedes, Ferrari, Aston Martin, and Red Bull all way out in front. So P9 and P10 is certainly up for grabs, especially when you look at that vehicle performance comparison. And we're right there. We're just behind McLaren, we're just behind Alpine, we're just behind Haas, but we're right there in the thick of it, which I didn't expect to be at this stage. I thought we'd still be right at the back. I think it may be a little bit too easy. Maybe I have to make it a little bit harder and give ourselves less resource points to come in and less cash and all that, just to make it a little bit more of a road to glory. But anyway, we're into qualifying, we're into Q1, and we like invalidating laps. We've invalidated our first 2 laps, so a fantastic start here in qualifying. But we're on our 3rd lap, trying to set a banker. Let's see if we can set a banker in Imola, as we go a little bit deep there, missing the apex, and it's not been the best lap. I mean, there is one thing that I did notice on this lap. If you look in the bottom right, I've pulled it up on my MFD. It's the tyre temperatures. You've got the tyre temperatures, which is so important on this game. I've learned it the hard way. But essentially, if your tyre pressures are too low, then your tyres aren't going to warm up enough and you're going to be slow. If they're too high, they're going to overheat. I mean, obvious stuff, but it seems to be a bit more. You got to be a bit more careful in this game, and there's a smaller working window, and it's different for each tyre, which makes it a little more difficult, especially when you go for your race setup. You've got to get those tyre temps just perfect, otherwise they're not going to be in that working window during the race, and you're going to lose time. You're probably going to lose temps, maybe even half a second a lap, if they're not in the right zone. So you've got to make sure you're getting that all right, and also in qualifying you've got to make sure you're getting it right as well. If they're not heated up, we are going to struggle, which we are right now. We're 2 tenths down on our lap time. We're P17. We're behind our teammate right now in qualifying. I think he was like the tiniest bit ahead of us. I think 5 1,000ths or whatever. But regardless, he's ahead of us. He should not be ahead of us in qualifying. I mean, he's only beaten us in a race because of our own mistakes, but he's never beaten us in qualifying. But he is so close to doing it today, unless we can put in a good lap to end it off here, and it's not looking like it. It looks like we're going to need a worldie of a final sector. We're a 10th down on our first lap time. We're 4 tenths down on Nico Hülkenberg as we come into the final sector. We're going to need a worldie of a final sector, but we do know that we are a lot faster than the AI in this final sector for some reason. The AI just can't seem to get it figured out. So we do have some time in hand as we turn these last couple corners, both left-handers. I love those two corners, especially on the exit right there. What can we do as we come up to the line? We need to beat a 16.2. It's going to be a 16.1. I think we're just through. Yes, we are through, as it's P16, just ahead of Hülkenberg, just ahead of our teammate who drops down to P18 as an out in Q1 once again. I don't think he's made it into Q2 just yet this season. So Jack Doohan, not really doing too much. I mean, he's got more experience, so yay, we'll get some more resource points, but only P18 for him, which is a little bit disappointing, but we're focusing on ourselves. We're into Q2, and here we are at the end of our Q2 lap. You see Sainz does a 14.9, we do a 15.9, which is a solid lap for us when you compare our lap time in Q1, which is a 16.1. So with 2 tenths improvement on a used set of tyres, up into P12, ahead of a McLaren, ahead of a Haas, ahead of both Alfa Romeos. Yes, please. We will take that any day of the week. So that's a decent banker lap, and it allows us to go out right at the end for our final hot lap as we're trying to find as much time as possible. And you can see up in the Delta, we are up. We're almost up a tenth. If we can find a couple of tenths, maybe we could get Q3, but we turn in too early at that left-hander. There you go. All the shots of Q3 are gone. I think on the perfect lap, we could have maybe found 2.5, maybe 3 tenths. And this is certainly not a perfect lap as we're down half a second. We've pretty much just got to send it, and we try and brake as late as possible, but it doesn't work. There you go. Invalidate another lap. Why not? But pretty much only P14 for us in qualifying. A little bit disappointing. I think there was another 2 tenths in it, maybe 3, but there was not enough to get into Q3. So maybe we could have seen ourselves starting P12, but instead it's going to be P14 for tomorrow, where we could fight for points. It's certainly a place where we could. So let's get in to the race day on Sunday.
Welcome to Imola, the spiritual home of Ferrari. But you don't need me to tell you that. Just look at the red-clad Tifosi in the grandstands. They're ready. Are you ready? For the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix. 1 lap of Imola, anti-clockwise of course, unlike most Formula 1 circuits, will take our drivers round 3.1 miles of track. 19 turns, 9 right-handers and 10 to the left. Drivers will need to be precise at the hairpin at turn 7, given the subsequent uphill section. Without a good exit from that corner, they'll lose a lot of time on that stretch. It's time to see how our drivers are stacking up after yesterday's exciting qualifying session. A fantastic effort from Charles Leclerc yesterday, and it's put him on pole. And the smooth operator Carlos Sainz completes the front row. Considering the rest of the grid, we have Verstappen, Perez, Russell, Hamilton, Fernando Alonso, Oscar Piastri, Stroll, Norris, Gasly, Bottas, the rookie, Joe, Magnussen, Hülkenberg, Doohan, Ocon, Albon, Tsunoda, Sargent, Tsunoda. Now it's almost time for lights out, so let's go down to the track. I'm joined again today by none other than Anthony Davidson. Tell me, Ant, obviously there's a lot of development work that goes on with these cars between the Grand Prix. You've been both a test driver and a race driver. What differences are there in the way that you approach those roles?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. They're 2 very different mindsets. In the old days, of course, they used to cover up to 15,000 kilometres of testing in a season, and that role would be more about working for the team, trying to help them improve the car and drive as systematically as possible, so that the data could be analysed in the most consistent way. When lining up on the grid for a race, however, a race driver's frame of mind is all about what they can get out of the situation on that day, and the car is the tool to help them achieve those goals.
It's going to be a P13 start for us, which means we're going to be on the left side of the grid, which I think, yeah, it will be the inside for turn 1. So we'll take that. We'll take every place that we can get. I think someone took a penalty. But anyway, we've got to focus on our strategy, what we're going to do, and we are going to start on the soft tyres and try and find that little bit of extra grip at the start. Try and get away well, see if we can make a couple of places, maybe gain 2 or 3 places, and find ourselves in the points by the first couple of corners. You can see I'm messing around with the tyre pressures, lowering them a little bit, just trying to see if I can get him in that perfect zone, because you don't want them too hot for your softs, you don't want them too cold for your mediums. You need to make sure they are spot on. So we're going to mess around with those a little bit, but we are going to start on the softs, see if we can get that start and get away off the grid well.
Here we go then, the formation lap gets underway here in Italy. The front runners on the grid will want a nice fast start, as the opening chicane can provide some overtaking potential that they'll be keen to avoid.
So pretty much the only place that you could really overtake around here once the pack sort of settles out will be turn 1 with that long straight, with that DRS straight. I mean, maybe into that hairpin, the left-hander, but it's not a place where there's going to be huge amount of overtaking opportunities, so that's why the start is so important. If we could get track position and we can almost hold on to DRS for the cars in front, then points is there. But we're finishing up the formation lap. We're going to be starting behind an Alfa Romeo and in front of an Alfa Romeo actually, so we're in a little bit of an Alfa Romeo sandwich as we line up onto the grid. Our teammate all the way down the order, I think he's starting P17 now, as someone took a penalty. Not sure who took a penalty. It looks like the Alpine, I think maybe of Pierre Gasly, but we're ready to get underway. It is 5 red lights and away we go here in Imola. It's not a bad start at all, as we're right behind Gasly, so it was Ocon that took the penalty, but down the inside we go, already up into the points, and now we're going to have a go at the Aston Martins, who are on the hard tyres, deep on the brakes, around the outside, with through on the McLaren as well. What a start on these soft tyres. Unbelievable. We're up in a P7. We've made these soft tyres work perfectly. I mean, you've got the 2 Aston Martins, I think, are both of them on the hards or one of them on the mediums? Either way, they're fighting away, but them being on the hards have really hindered them, and they're fighting away behind us, which is going to allow us to get away a little bit with Oscar Piastri as well, who in that McLaren, who we could probably beat. We've got around the same pace as him. The front 6, we're getting nowhere near, as we have a look at the replay from Fernando Alonso. He's on the hard tyres. He doesn't get away very well. You can see Piastri absolutely steam up the inside, and you're going to see us brake as late as possible around the outside, and we're going to go zooming past both Aston Martins. Look at us around there. We use the full track, say see you later, and the 2 Aston Martins actually bang a little bit. They hit each other's wheels, hit each other's side pods, and they are getting very, very racy at the start of this race. Keep doing that, lads. Keep doing that. Slow each other down, and we'll happily drive off into the distance. I mean, I still don't think Aston Martin are going to be part of our race. I think Piastri is going to be part of our race. You know, you've got the 2 Aston Martins. They're a lot quicker than us. Even though they're on the hards, they're going to be on the mediums or the softs later on in the Grand Prix, and at that point, they're going to fly past us. So I'm still not considering them part of our race. I'm still considering this battle with Piastri as a battle for P9, and we will take whatever points we could get. But yeah, so not a bad start at all. I mean, it's a fantastic start here in Imola, and you got the 6 up in front as Piastri goes for that move down the inside on the medium tyres. It does feel like he has got a bit better pace than us, so that McLaren is a little bit faster. And what I have noticed down this straight, as we do actually close in on Piastri, the AI is extremely fast if you don't have DRS. So you got to be careful that as Piastri goes deep, we say thank you very much and just take our place right back. But yeah, down that straight, the AI just seems extremely fast if you don't have DRS. And I mean, on the first lap, you saw it. The front 6, they're gone. They're already opened up a 3-second gap to us in 3 laps. So they're about a second a lap quicker. So we're not getting anywhere near them. But Piastri holding on to that P8 position. We're doing well in that P7, trying to spread a little bit of the gap. Whereas our teammate up in the P15 gained a position or 2. See if he could maybe sneak into the points. He's part of this train. He's part of this train that's forming. So if he gets the strategy right, if a safety car comes out, if something happens at the right time for Jack doing, he could find himself in the points. He's just got to stay in that train as Alonso goes for that move on Piastri. As expected, the Aston Martins are now making moves after that awful start. So Alonso through on Piastri. It will be only a matter of time before he finds his way past us. We're only 4 laps in, remember. So these 2 Aston Martins, they're going to get their way back through, although Stroll is struggling a little bit more, you know. I mean, Fernando Alonso is a lot better than Lance Stroll. Now it's our turn to be a sitting duck, as Fernando Alonso is going to close in at a rate of notch. And we essentially let him go through because there's no point in fighting the Aston Martin. We might as well sit behind, try and stay as close as possible, and try and stay ahead of Oscar Piastri, who is our race. He is our race. He's the one that we want to focus on. And we just got to kind of use these soft tyres while we have them. I mean, we're only 5 laps in. We've got to get the most out of them. We've got to push them and use them all up, because Piastri on the mediums, Stroll on the hards, Alonso on the hards, although Alonso's not really part of our race, they're going to get better and better. And our softs are just going to get worse and worse. They're just going to go off. So we need to utilise the pace while we have it. And we're actually struggling a little bit. We're struggling a little bit on the tyres. The tyres are certainly feeling a bit more used than they were at the start of the Grand Prix. And as Piastri goes zooming past us, and we can't even stay in his DRS. We can't even stay in the McLaren's DRS as we go a little bit wide there onto the gravel, just about staying alive. But if we can't stay in the McLaren's DRS, I think that tells you that it is time to box. We've got a 3-second buffer to Stroll behind, as Norris has been battling like crazy with him. So a 3-second buffer behind, which is very nice. Sitting in P9, coming into the pits on a set of mediums. Points is on the cards. Something could be happening here in Imola. I mean, Piastri's gapped us by 2.5 seconds, but I guess he's not really our race now. It's the cars that behind us. They're our race. So we don't care about the cars in front. It's the cars behind us that we've got to make sure stay behind us. As into the pits we come, into the pits, Lando Norris comes as well. He's going to go onto a new set of mediums. We're going to go onto a new set of mediums as well. And thankfully, the pit stop is good. No problems this time in the pits. I mean, we've had it a couple times where we've had a slow pit stop. It's been like a 5.7 pit stop. If that would have happened again, that would have screwed any chances for points. But the team's done well. 2.9 seconds. Thank you very much. Now the rest is on me as we come out of the pits in P16, but it's technically a net P9. If we can put in a good couple laps, good couple push laps, then we can hold on to that P9 position. As Leclerc coming out the pits in the following lap, he's got his teammate down the inside. He just turns in to his teammate. What are you doing, Ferrari? It's a Ferrari blunder. It's Charles Leclerc's stinker. And Ferrari dropping down the order like no tomorrow. I think they're down to P7, P8. You can see the yellow flags in the first couple corners are for them, slowing up Oscar Piastri up ahead, who's on the hard tyres. And thankfully for us, there was no safety car. If there was a safety car there, it would have screwed us, because that would have been a lap or two after we pit, and a lot of cars would have jumped us as Lando Norris goes around the outside, and we essentially let him go. And we want to use his DRS. We want to use his DRS to help pull us from the cars behind. You've got Stroll 2 seconds behind. We need to use Lando Norris's DRS because we are not fast enough. That McLaren has decent enough speed where he can pull us down the straights, especially now that Stroll is in our DRS range with about 7 laps to go. So 7 laps to go. We've got to hold off an Aston Martin if we want to score a single point in Imola. A single point. As there is a yellow flag halfway around the track. I think that's a Williams driver. Is it a Williams driver? Yes, it is. It's Alex Albon that is out of the session. So, I mean, he's just stuck on the side of the track, and it is going to be a safety car. This safety car has come out with 6-7 laps to go. 6-7 laps to go, which is actually very nice. I was very happy to see that, as it allows me to relax for a couple minutes, relax for a couple laps, and not have to worry about Stroll behind. And it bunches up the whole field. You've got Oscar Piastri in P7, who's on a set of hard tyres. The rest of the field behind him is on a set of mediums. So we could certainly push the chase to Oscar Piastri. And could we find ourselves a little further up the grid than just P10? I mean, the safety car has come out at a great time. I think we're only going to have 3 or 4 racing laps at the end of this Grand Prix. And we could do something here. We could, if we get a good launch off the safety car, we could maybe gain a position or 2. And I think a McLaren, we could hold off a McLaren. Aston Martin, I'm not sure. But we could certainly hold off a McLaren, especially if we're in front of a McLaren and an Aston Martin. We could hold off probably both of them. We've just got to make sure we save that ERS for the straight. We're going to have a full battery now as well, which is so important. So we're going to get back underway on lap 19. So we're going to have 4 racing laps, 2 of them with DRS. This is going to get spicy. This is going to get spicy in Imola. This is the battle for points. It's not just a battle for a point now. It's a battle for points because of the safety car. Can we get a good launch on Lando Norris? Can we find ourselves up in a P9? Can we do a dive bomb down into turn 1? We're trying to get away at the right time. See if we can time it perfectly. We are underway now, and we get a decent start. We're in that slipstream of Lando Norris. Can we close in just enough where we can send it down the inside of the fellow Brit? Yes, we do. Down the inside of Norris. We say that's our corner. We give him no room. Stroll follows us through as well. And we're up into P9. But Stroll with a tremendous exit down the inside. He goes up in a P9. And I tell you what, that's not what we want. That is not what we want at all. We've got an Aston Martin ahead of us instead of a McLaren. We wanted to be ahead of the McLaren and we could have got more points, but I guess it is easier to fend off a McLaren than it is an Aston Martin. So P10, we've just got to make sure that we don't let Norris get past us, and we've got to essentially try and stay in that DRS of Lance Stroll for when the DRS comes out. As they're going slow up ahead, Stroll looks for a move on Alonso. This gives us an opportunity as we go down the inside of the Aston Martin, down the inside of both of them. Lance Stroll gives us the room. We've gone past both Aston Martins. We're up into P8. We're behind Oscar Piastri. I don't know what's happening, but we just sent it. We absolutely sent it into that corner. I don't know why they were going so slow. We're riding on board with one of the Ferrari cars. And I think it's Charles Leclerc up ahead. He goes wide, which causes them to go too wide and essentially slow up everybody behind in the train and allows us to absolutely send one down the inside. We didn't want to send one on Fernando Alonso. Or Lance Stroll, I think it was, the lead Aston Martin. But we sent one at the back. The one in front essentially just gave us the room, and we said thank you very much. We will take an extra place. So we find ourselves P8 with a lap to go. We've got 1 lap to go, and we're P8. 4 points could be crucial, but Oscar Piastri up ahead, he's on the hard tyres. He's not got DRS for the final lap. If we could get close enough, we could send one on the McLaren. It could be 6 points for BamfordMB Motorsport, which would be absolutely crucial. Can we close that gap? Can we get past the McLaren? We've got the DRS. We've got the ERS down the inside. See you later, Oscar. We're through on the McLaren, up into P7. We've made it work after the safety car with the pace that we've had. We're dreaming. We are in dreamland to be up in P7 ahead of both Aston Martins. What is going on here in Imola? The safety car has certainly helped. I mean, I think P9 would have been the maximum without it, but it's going to be P7 after the safety car. You got Piastri behind. He's not close enough. Neither is Stroll. Neither is Alonso. Norris isn't going to finish in the points, but we're going to finish in a P7. P7 in our 4th race of the season. We've finally got some points, and it's big points at that. It's going to be a whole 6 points for BamfordMB Motorsport. What a result. You can see I was celebrating across the line. I couldn't believe it myself. The safety car came out at the perfect time. We've got driver of the day, deservedly. But what a race. I can't believe we got P7. It's not where our car should be. Our car is probably P11, P12, P13 area. But we've managed to sneak ourselves not only into the points, but into a big haul of points. And P7 ahead of Oscar Piastri in the McLaren. Our teammate down in P18. I mean, what would you expect? He's not having a great season. His race pace isn't there. His qualifying pace isn't there. And we're going to need a new teammate next season. He does not have the pace. But anyway, P7 for us. No points for Haas. No points for Alfa Romeo. No points for Williams. No points for Alpine either. I don't think Alpine's really our battle, but I know Haas, Alfa Romeo, Williams are. So to beat them and for them to not get any points this weekend is pretty huge indeed. As you can see, we're up in our team acclaim level, which is nice. Up in our driver acclaim level. Somehow Jack Doohan still has better driver acclaim than me, even though we're the only ones to score a points finish. I guess we have crashed a couple of times. We're getting everything in. We're getting all the sponsors in. We're getting we're not crashing at all. We're not getting damage reductions there. Look at that. Money's just flowing into the team. Absolutely loving life. And you can see we're ahead of Alfa Romeo, ahead of AlphaTauri, ahead of Williams, 2 points behind Haas, 4 points behind Alpine. P6 in the constructors is still on the table. It's still there. We just need to put in a few good points finishes. And I mean, we do have mean, another 12 races to go. So let's not get ahead of ourselves. But what a result that is in Imola. Hopefully it's not a one-off. Hopefully we can have more results like that. And maybe another one in the streets of Monte Carlo next time out. If you are enjoying this series, make sure you go ahead, leave a like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.